You heard that? Once again, it's your friend Sizwe. I want to welcome you to another episode of What They Do. You know what they do. This is Miami, so we represent from Miami all the time. And in Miami, we say what they do. What's up? What's poppin'? So what they do. I got a dope guest in the building. Man, I've known this young man for some time now. Actually, since I've probably been like 16 years old. He's a pillar in the community, and he knows all things law, all things entertainment law, all things music law. And I think it's important that, we have that type of conversation. So Mr. Marlon Hill, what they do, man?
Good morning.
Good morning. What's good, my brother?
What they do, my brother.
Yeah, man.
When you said you know me since I was 16.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very important, because when you were 16, I was just 26. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a very important context in terms of what you were doing at the time and what I was doing at the time for a conversation. But it's great to see you, great to be with you.
Yeah, I think it's about 16, maybe 17, but definitely in them ages. Yeah. Definitely. I actually remember the day I met you. And it was at a brunch on Miami Beach that we all went to. And my dad was like, yeah, boy, Sizwe, did you see that guy? That's the guy who you need to be like.
Caribbean parents, boy.
You need to be like him. And so I ain't really made that mark, but I still have you in my corner.
At least he had a standard. He had a standard.
That standard was high, still high today.
Yeah, man.
So what's going on with you?
Great, man. It's just getting over the election season. Mm-hmm. Just getting over the carnival season.
Yes, carnival.
Some family health challenges. There's a lot happening this year. And with the law practice and everything. So it's good to be like in the fall season now, kind of getting ready for like a new year.
Yeah.
And everything like that. But over the last month and a half, between carnival and the elections.
It's been busy.
Lots
I was trying to get you onto the podcast right before Miami Carnival, but that timing was kind of hectic.
That's like calling a band leader before.
Yeah. Before
on
distribution day.
On distribution day. Problems.
Yeah, problems. It was difficult.
Or the Haitians say problems.
Yeah, problem. Big up to my Haitians as though. But I wanted to get you on to talk Miami Carnival just because I thought that it was just another way to kind of spread the word about Miami Carnival and being in the spirit of Carnival. But I know that you've got a heavy role in Carnival. So can you talk to us about what your role is in Miami Carnival?
My role is a real special, unique one, and it's just a great honor to serve as the general counsel to Miami Carnival. Basically, I'm the person that's responsible for the legal affairs, legal issues regards to the carnival. And it's funny how I got into this role. I was just kind of reflecting on the 40th anniversary, because we're 40 years now.
Yeah.
Right? So, and you and I have known each other now for 20 plus at that time. Right? And we've basically grown up in Miami Carnival.
Yeah.
Our families, So I came here when I was 14 from Jamaica as an immigrant kid, dropped in South Dade. Even though I spoke English, it was a very difficult transition. Took me like about a year and a half before I was really comfortable being in the United States. But lucky for me, the high school that I went to had a lot of other immigrant kids from Guyana and Trinidad and Puerto Rico and Jamaica and Haiti. So that was good for me, So I had a real baptism in connecting with different types of Caribbean culture. And then I got a scholarship to Florida State University, business school there. And I went off to school in Costa Rica for a little bit. And then I came back. And then after I was finished with Florida State, Hurricane Andrew happened.
1993. 1992.
Destroyed the entire South Dade. And I couldn't come back home. And that's the reason why I stayed in Tallahassee. I went to law school. And it changed my entire history. And then after law school, I came back home and, I met my now wife, Carla, at Florida State. And it's like jerk and curry.
Yeah.
She's from Trinidad, I'm from Jamaica.
Well, it's not just jerk and curry, it's curry chicken because she's Trini. Doesn't make it clear.
Exactly. So, I had to put a little jerk in the channel. We came back home, and about a year and a half from that, we got married here in Miami. And it's out of our relationship that I gained a great appreciation for carnival culture. Even though I was already embedded in carnival culture or Caribbean culture, because I was very involved in the Caribbean Students Association
right
on campus. I was actually the president of the association. So that was, when you're one of few on campus, you kind of depend on each other. I had my own restaurant in my dorm room and cooking food for different people and stuff like that. So having an appreciation for other countries, people from VI and Antigua and Barbados, and also my Jamaican people, that's what really built the bridge to the connection to Miami Carnival.
Okay.
But when I came back home, those says, you and I remember, Miami Carnival wasn't always Miami Broad One Carnival.
Definitely remember.
Right? So I was invited to get involved with providing legal advice to one of the organizations at the time.
Okay.
And then there were 2.
Yeah.
Then there were 3.
Yeah.
And that kind of introduced me to the world of carnival culture and bacchanal. It was not easy.
No. Problems.
Not easy, Sizwe.
Yeah.
Being of Jamaican descent. But I think being of Jamaican descent allowed me a little bit of independence. I wasn't from San Fernando. I wasn't from Arima. I wasn't from Dago. I wasn't from Toco. I was Jamaican. But I had a understanding and, more importantly, a respect for the culture that allowed some level of trust to be developed. That allowed me to kind of give some advice with the carnival at the time. Yeah,
that's interesting. You're talking about it wasn't always a one Miami Broward Dade or Miami Carnival, as my dad once chaired the Miami Carnival, at least that bringing them together. And so I'm very aware of the drama and, it was a tough time. It was a tough time here in the 305. The Caribbean community was going through a transformation, because Miami Carnival started back in 1984 in Miami Gardens. Used to be known as Carol City, because Miami Gardens wasn't a city yet, right? And then ultimately, all those people that came down from New York or came directly from Trinidad, because carnival culture is rooted through the DNA of Trinidad. Of course.
Even though there are carnival cultures and experiences in other islands, the artistry, the politics. But
the carnival, the style of carnival that you see is a Trinidad style carnival. Right. And there shouldn't be any disdain about that. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
And of course the other islands have incorporated their styles and their carnivals and stuff like that, and we all enjoy it. But what we see is a Trinidad style.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And before I got involved on the operational business side, legal side of carnival, I was just a regular patron like everybody else. I went to Travel Lodge and I went to My High Temple. I went to Spirits.
Yeah, Spirits.
Lime Key.
Lime Key. Yeah. That's some Miami talk for you guys who don't know about Lime Key, about Spirits. My High Temple with Marshall and Girl Power. I was there. I was there.
You had to be like 18.
Yeah, I was young, but I was there and we was there. And I was in every one of them fest. Miami Carnival could not miss me. Convention Center. Coconut Grove Convention Center.
Convention Center. We need to bring it back.
So the days of the big bands, right?
Brass band.
Brass and 4 and 5 bands a night. I definitely remember. Let me ask you, what about Miami Carnival makes it the best carnival in North America?
Man, that's a big question. But you know what it is? First and foremost, it feels like you're in Trinidad, or it feels like you're in Barbados, or it feels like you're in Antigua. From a weather, palm trees, everything that you need, the food, the just the energy, the breeze. And it's the last carnival before you get ready for the carnival season.
Well, not anymore.
It's the last major
Yeah.
carnival.
So you have Tobago.
It's the last carnival.
Yeah.
Don't roll on roots, man. Don't roll on roots, man. So it's the last carnival.
Yeah.
And so it's the vibe. And I think also what makes it special is that you have people who participate that come directly from the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the people from New York and DC and Atlanta. And that convergence gives a good mix of people and a vibe.
Yeah. 'Cause I feel like the energy is different, right? I feel like the parties are different, you know? Although some people complain and say there's no road, right?
Yeah.
It's not a road, but I find it to be a road. You know, yes, it's not on the highway. It's not on the 95, or you know.
I think this
that
idea,
jump is a big jump, man.
I think this idea of the road is a nostalgic one in terms of that experience. But you know, we're not in Trinidad, we're not in Barbados. We should have the road, but we have to recognize and appreciate, Sis, that Miami has to have its own unique way. And what a lot of people don't realize, and another thing that makes Miami Carnival so special, is that beyond the panorama and the Kiddies Carnival and the Juve and the main carnival, the mixture of different parties, fetes that you have in Miami is something special.
Yeah.
You have the backyard parties.
Yeah.
You have the
boat rides.
Yeah. You have the folks that are in the seasoned years.
Yeah.
They have their thing too.
Yeah.
So
all white. They have an all white thing.
Every generation has one.
Yeah.
And as the generations get older, they kind of take on that environment. I don't think that some of the other carnivals, Toronto, New York, Notting Hill, have the kind of levels.
Yeah. Yeah, I find, you spoke on the different people who come here, and I think that makes it so unique, right? It's just like everybody seems to find their way into Miami.
Yeah.
And you just get this, we have to make it clear that Miami Carnival wouldn't be as dope as it is without New York and their involvement.
Well, New York is the historical godfather of Carnival in North America, right? We have to honor the ancestors of the Carnival culture. Miss Joyce, before the 1960s in New York, and Carnival was shut down because of what was going on in Brooklyn. And then Mr. Lazama came in and brought the Carnival back. It's very important, but outside of the Carnival, Sizwe, and outside of the fetes, that we must, I don't care what part of the ecosystem you are in Carnival, you must have a respect for the historical contributors to the development of the culture.
Yeah.
Right? You cannot, whether you're a DJ, you are performing on the stage, you are the juice man, or you are the mass band leader, you have to respect the ancestors within the community, just like Cambole.
Yeah.
Right? You have to go back to the roots of the historical reason why Carnival exists.
Yeah, of course.
Right? And over the years, I've kind of gained a greater appreciation that it's not just an event. This is something that is part of our quality of life. It is part of why we exist historically.
Yeah.
Resistance. And that's why you can have to appreciate a certain level of political discontent, put it that way, in Carnival, because it's part of the Carnival culture.
Forgive me, our set is outside, right? And so if you're hearing some rain, it's because it is raining. But this is Miami, so we want to enjoy the weather, and that's why we're outside. So just forgive me.
I'm waiting to hear a couple crickets. When you're outside in the back in the Caribbean.
You might hear some crickets. You might see a one or two lizard. I think one of our podcasts we had some flies, and I had to kill a fly live on the set. And but
it's what we do.
It is what we do. It is what we do. And as a vibe, and it adds character to the vibe. You talked about Cambole, to give a little knowledge on the podcast. And I think that stuff is important, and people having to reach back into their history pockets to find out what these things are about. And Cambole which is translated from French to Quin brûlé, right? Which is the burning of cane and the sugarcane fields.
Yeah.
Right? And that had a huge impact into what we see as Carnival today.
Very, very, it's so critical. And any person that is paying homage or celebrating Carnival must go to watch the reenactment of Carnival in downtown Trinidad and Tobago in Port of Spain. And to kind of see exactly what it really means to, to be a part of, to not accept oppression and to be able to have the freedom to express yourself, whoever you are, and for Black people, to be able to break out of the system of slavery, an economic system, by the way, with their labor, and for them to express themselves when they saw the oppressors celebrating and enjoying their thing. I think it's a very important part of the Carnival experience. For me, every time I go back to Trinidad and Tobago, it's almost like a recentering.
Yeah.
I go and kind of go downtown at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. to watch the reenactment, and just to kind of remind myself and to just remind myself, why am I here? Before I go and play mass and before I go to the brainwash or before I go to, wherever I'm going.
Yeah, so Marlon, as you can see, we changed the settings and it's been a little bit of a challenge, but I think we got there.
What we do.
Yeah, this is what we do. It was raining outside and the rain was making noise and we just had to switch it up a little bit.
What Granny used to say, turn your hand and make fashion.
Make it right. You know what I'm saying? So, but we left off talking about Quin brûlé or Camboulé. We talked about the masquerade.
Yeah.
Right? And I think people don't really know where the masquerade part come from. And I think it's very important that we provide a little bit of context. But why do you think though? I feel like much of the history is maybe no longer important or not as important, lost, but not necessarily lost, but maybe not driven, right? There's no emphasis on understanding where these things is, not just butter and wine and feathers.
Well, it's our responsibility.
Yeah.
It's our culture. We're responsible for all elements of the culture, preserving it, teaching the kids the importance of it, celebrating it at the appropriate time, passing it on to the next generation, because this is our existence. This is why we are who we are as Black people, right? Whether you're from Salvador Bahia, or you're from Port of Spain, or you're from Bridgetown, or you're from wherever, this is a similar experience that we have to go through, right? To kind of release ourselves from this bondage, so that we can freely express ourselves. Even in 2024, there are versions of Camboulé.
Yeah.
There are versions of Camboulé where we're under oppression and we have to show resistance to express ourselves. That's the way I look at it in terms of that part of Carnival culture. It can be translated into other parts of contemporary society, right? This is how Carnival culture manifests itself in the broader culture through our music, through our fashion, through just different forms of expression.
Yeah. And again, I think that delivering that message to the people and expressing how important it is, right, to understand the history.
Yeah.
Right, and there is this. It comes out of this resistance.
And this is one of the things when you said people want the road. They want the road because the road is a physical manifestation of freedom, where to freely express and for people to see what you're expressing.
Right.
And if you don't feel like you're on the road, they feel like they're being
restrained, constrained. Yeah, that's interesting.
And they may. You have the people who are the masqueraders and the non-masqueraders.
Yeah.
And the non-masqueraders have their own level of freedom as well. Because they should be able to touch the culture, participate in the culture, even though they're not playing mass.
Well, they play in pavement.
Well, and you have to provide an environment. The job of the Carnival organization that allows the carnival to happen because somebody has to produce it.
So you say Miami Carnival is the best in North America because diversity?
Diversity, closeness to the geographic weather.
Yeah.
The diversity in cultures that I hear, small island, big island, the diversity in music styles, reggae, dancehall, jam band, zouk, kumpa, punta rock, all of that is here in a very authentic way, and then you mix a little reggaeton, and then you mix a little cumbia, and all of that. All of that is here, is a culture clash.
I got a quick question, right? Because this seems like a hot topic, and you're Jamaican, right? And that is reggae, dancehall in Carnival.
Hey, the purists will tell you, and I live with one. Fire for bun.
Can't work.
Can't work.
What do you say?
There's a time and place for everything. Maybe in Jamaica, but not anywhere else.
Okay. There's a time and place for everything.
If you and I started a carnival in Ghana or Nigeria, Afrobeats have to play.
You think so?
Yeah. If you and I started a carnival in Notting Hill, some dub have to play. Time and place, because the culture takes on the place that it is. You can't deny it. It's
I think some
undeniable.
people will say no. If you bring a carnival to wherever, it should just be soca.
Well, you're saying that a carnival is restricted to the culture of soca.
I am not saying that.
Okay.
I'm saying what some people may say.
But-
And some people may say
Yeah.
that carnival is essentially made up of soca, right?
Because soca is in the DNA of the Trinidad style carnival. But what they do in Miami, we are surrounded by other forms of culture, but it's still a
Miami-
Trini style carnival.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's still a Trini style carnival. And so therefore, if it's a Trini style carnival, some would say
It's rooted in soca.
it is rooted in soca
Absolutely.
and must be only soca.
It's rooted in soca. I'm not saying it's only
No,
the
I-
soca.
I clearly hear you say that.
Here's where we have the challenge, right? I've always had the impression that Trinis make music for Trinis, and everybody else just have to appreciate it or don't appreciate it. And I think it's fair enough. But how is the music going to grow if it's only for Trinis? Okay, so you cannot abandon the root of the music, soca, the root of the culture, Kambale, if the expression of it is going to transform over generations for other people to appreciate it, or for the expression of the music to take on a different style, if it's just for us.
I think the fear for many people who are engaged and in love with carnival and soca is that when you start to be a little bit more inclusive, you're gonna start to lose.
That's a real fear.
Yeah.
It's almost very similar to what we're going through now with our political system in the United States, or the history of the United States. People vote their insecurities. Right? You want to self-preserve, right? So whenever you see other people coming into what you do, coming into my country, they say, no. Close the border.
Yeah, we don't want that.
We don't want that. Very similar. I would draw the line that Trinis feel that if you open up soca, you lose the purity of soca. I think that's a real security and concern. I'm not saying nay. Right? So it's a hybrid of how much do you want to share without relinquishing the root of what it is. It's a dynamic. So reggae music. If Jamaicans said, no, can't have nobody else playing reggae music, writing reggae music, performing reggae music, it's for us. What you doing? Fire for bun? No. Do you think reggae music would be as global? You have Japanese, you have Mexican people reggae music. So at some point, you have to still be committed to the root of your expression, but still allow people to experience what it is that makes it so special for you.
I could remember a time, speaking of reggae, where if it didn't come out of Jamaica, it nah go work. Nah go work,
That may be true.
right?
But reggae has gone through various situations. You can't tell me, that you don't have an understanding of what reggae music is all about, or dancehall, right? Your friends didn't stop you from participating in that. You know the dances, you know the different artists, because it wasn't so. But I don't know what it is about soca that is so insular.
Yeah.
Right? And I've always wondered why that's the case. And I think it's something that has to change, for the carnival to grow. And you even see it now in the masqueraders, right? You see more women from Honduras and Nicaragua and Nigeria and Haiti. And Haiti is not a carnival culture. But the carnival experience as it relates to mass is becoming more diverse than the music itself.
Yeah, I was going to say, as it relates to mass, no. But they have a carnival and they have their rabodai and their street music and their parade. Speaking of music, you are an entertainment lawyer.
I'm a business lawyer. That does a lot of work in the music, arts, entertainment industry. And that is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because entertainment is a business.
Okay.
It's a business.
Okay.
So it's the business of entertainment, not the entertainment of business.
Right. Yeah.
So whatever role you play in the entertainment industry, there are business elements associated with your success in that industry.
So talk to me about some considerations that artists need to have that they might not necessarily be taking or might be taken for granted or just missing, because many times these artists, me included, just want to produce music.
Yeah, well, when you're trying to bring the lights into focus, and you're trying to fix the microphone, and you're worried about the rain and the chords and the noise and all of that stuff, that's a creative. But a business person, though, understand that will sort itself out, and you have to make adjustments.
So you're saying when I was losing my head outside,
that was your creative.
That's
side.
my creative.
That's your creative.
That's
side.
emotional.
That's emotional. And then your business manager person came in and says, "Set yourself, relax, and adjust." So the first thing that a creative and an artist must understand is to say out loud in the mirror that I'm a business person, I'm an entrepreneur first, and I'm a creative second. Yeah, it's very important because you cannot sustain yourself as a creative, as an artist, as a DJ, as a designer, as a writer, as a producer, without understanding the business elements of what it is that you do.
Right.
And how do you balance, let's say you have to pay the bills, right? How do you balance the mortgage paying job versus being an artist? You have to have a business mindset in order to find the balance of making that work, because not everybody has the independence and the financial freedom to just wake up and be an artist, unless somebody's funding what you do. So unless you have a business mindset as to what you're going to spend money on, the equipment, how you're going to find space for your studio, how you're going to pay your musicians. If you don't have a budget, then the wife is going to give you your pure licks.
Yeah.
Problems, as the Haitians would say, right? So the first thing for any artist in and outside the carnival culture, soca or not soca, dancehall, Afrobeats, visual arts, performing arts, theater, writer, publisher, it's the same concept. It's a business. How are you going to come up with a plan to realize this vision, this passion that you have, and still live a life, have your family? You have to have a plan to do it. And I don't care if you are producing widgets or you're writing and producing music. It's the same concept.
Yeah, so understanding that this is a business first and having a business mind and trying to navigate that road. There's so many different aspects of this business thing. Like, I remember once you called me and said, "Since we got to organize your copyright." Can you talk about that copyright and the PRO and all the different? Maybe give us some. Keys
the quick 101 is that once you make the decision that you're an entrepreneur, and you're also going to be pursuing the pathway of becoming an artist, whatever that form of that artist is, right? You have to separate your personal life from your business life. What does that mean, right? You have to incorporate so that the business expenses, the lights, the equipment, the microphones, all of those things are expenses associated with the business. It's not owned by the house, right? So you have to incorporate. So We Big Entertainment is a corporation or LLC that has a bank account, that has a budget associated with the creative vision of Sizwe, right? And then, so all of those, that business is separate from the house that you own, the car that you drive, the insurance, the healthcare, and all of that stuff. And then the business over here now has a plan to kind of realize this creative vision that you have, right? And then, so every business or every home has assets. The assets is the property that you own. You have the deed. Now, the assets that the company has now, you have the equipment, you may have money, of course, and then all of those assets go into the expenses associated with making revenue.
Yeah.
So the other assets, you have real property, which is the house. Intellectual property now is your creativity, your innovation. How do you protect that? So that's the trademark.
Yeah.
We Big.
Yeah.
Sizwe is a brand. We Big is a brand, right? And then you may have other brands associated with the business. Those are your trademarks. What they do, that's a slogan.
Yeah.
That's associated with the podcast series, associated under the umbrella of We Big.
Yeah.
All right. And then so when you record the audio, the video, right? All of those things now are become intellectual property copyrights that are owned by the individual, the company, entity, right? So the individual owns that content, photos, the video, anything that you write, right? Anything that you sketch, anything creative associated with the content is the copyright owned by you for your entire life, plus 70 years after you die. So Bob Marley died 1981, 36 years old. No will. How many kids? Right? So no will, he dies intestate. So all his copyright, all his music had to go into an estate, and they all are going to eat food from that 70 years from 1981.
Wow.
That's copyright. Photos. Anybody that wants to use any photo, any music, any content, his name, his likeness, has to go to the estate.
To the estate.
Get permission.
So it's important.
It's absolutely
Vital.
Vital. Right? So the trademarks, the copyrights, all of the content become assets of the company, become assets of the person who created it, unless you're sharing the rights to that content with somebody else, 50-50, 33%. Right? And then anybody that wants to play the music, so let's say, I want to use the song that you just recently produced on the one
Trouble.
Right? So let's say I want to use Trouble I want to play it at my let's say I'm supporting somebody who's running for Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago and their campaign, and they want to use Trouble because there's trouble in the country and we need to, right? They have to get permission from the rights to use it.
Right.
And the venue that they played it, let's say it's down by the Savannah, or they have to be registered, stadium, that to be registered with a public rights organization, PRO, so that you permission licenses to play it publicly on a cruise, Uber cruise, the Performing Arts Center, they all have to be registered with the PROs to make sure that you're getting your due. Right? And anybody that's streaming and all that, anybody that's streaming using the music for any purpose, need to get your permission.
So from a legal standpoint, from a legal perspective, it's the copyright pro, or is the pro from a legal perspective, or is there anything else legally you have beyond the copyright?
Yeah, so you have to do an assessment.
Forming the LLC, of course.
Yeah, you have to do an assessment of all the assets associated with the company, right? All the assets meaning you own any property, the cash, property that you own, any content that you do an inventory of all of that. So you can make a determination to come up with a plan to register it. So if you have any trademarks, the logo, the word mark, the slogan, it may have a specific color. You may have your own We Big ringtone. All of those things are associated with your brand and your company. You have to figure out, okay, what do I need to do to protect it, just in case anything happens to me tomorrow? My family will know that it's all secured, and in my will, for them to kind of take care of, right? And then, so as an artist, you have to kind of equally be as passionate about the creative process as you are the business process.
Yeah.
It's so important. And when you think about an organization like Miami Carnival, it's also about succession planning. Because we think we are on here, this earth forever. And we're not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the lawyer for Miami Carnival forever.
Yeah.
The people who are on the board are not going to be on the board forever. You're not going to be the artist that you were back in the early 20s when you were just grinding it out. You're a different artist now going into your early 40s, right? So what you knew then and what you're doing now, you have matured and you're doing different things in a different way. Your maturity, your understanding of how you write, how you produce, how you be a leader with bringing a band together. All of those things change. But at some point, you may want to move from the stage and go to the studio.
Or management, or
management,
yeah.
or
Artist
bringing back the convention center.
Yeah, bringing back the convention center. Definitely. You know, I got a contract some years ago, right? From somebody claiming to be from Rough Rider, and as a matter of fact, I called you. Do you remember that?
Yeah, man.
So I came back from Iraq or something like that, and I got my hands on a contract, right? And Daddy said, I said, Daddy, you want to read this thing? And he read it, and he said, I think you need to call a lawyer, right? It had some words in there that, like perpetuity.
That don't sound good. No,
right? What are some words that we should?
I think that
artists should be looking out for in contracts.
In school when the teacher tells you to read out the paragraph aloud, read something aloud. And you'll get a good sense whether it really makes sense. You can get a good sense. And then when you get to a point now where it's outside your scope of understanding, that's when you call a professional to get involved. You're not going to understand everything. But when you look at any particular contract, what you're really looking for is what are you contributing and what are they giving you for it? Is it fair? Is it reasonable for how long? Right? And are you giving up too much or too little over a period of time? Right? And a contract is a relationship. Whether it's a contract with a manager, a contract with a venue, a contract with a producer, a contract with, even in a marriage. It's a give or take.
Yeah.
And you'll know when it's unfair.
Yeah.
You kind of know. You're just like, that don't sound right. It's a matter of fear. You're not always going to get what you want, everything. But you negotiate and you end up another place.
I think when we saw that perpetuity word, it didn't register.
And what are you giving up in perpetuity?
Right. Well, anything that you're giving up in perpetuity is
anything that you're giving up for perpetuity is almost like exclusivity. It's going to cost you. So if you're going to give it up in perpetuity or exclusively, then there's a value to that. It's almost like if I'm going to rent this house. How long you want to rent it for, Mr. Hill? And, it's going to cost you, right? As opposed to renting it for a week versus 5 years.
Yeah.
So you look at the give or take, and it's the same way as being an artist. You remember, it is about the business process and the success of the business. And just because it's a non-profit doesn't mean no profit.
Okay.
Right? Because also, as a business owner, you could also even consider setting up your own nonprofit because you may care about wounded veterans. You may care about healthcare for veterans. And let's say you as a company wanted to set up your own nonprofit. You could, as a part of your business plan, to write off some of your taxes for giving to that nonprofit that you care about while you're promoting the brand of what you are about as an artist. Many artists don't do that. They're so busy in the creative process and being in the business that they forget about the fact that you live in a community that you're supposed to be giving back something.
It's hard, as an artist because you really just to be creative, right? And that part of building is hard enough,
Yeah. So my advice to that is you have to recognize how difficult it is juggling life in general, right? So I think that you have to really be cognizant about maintaining balance, which is part of you can't have an artist business plan without having a life business plan. Just because you're an artist doesn't mean that it's not a business. I would say the same advice to you if you were selling watches or you were a fashion designer. You have to have balance. Unless you're independently wealthy where you can just do whatever you want. We don't have that luxury. Most artists don't, right? So you can't have a successful artist business without having a successful life plan. And you can't have a sustain your fulfillment of being an artist if the life plan is not in alignment.
Yeah.
It's alignment.
Yeah.
So everybody that's in your support system has to understand what it is that you care about and understand the ins and outs of the business, because if anything happens to you, they need to be able to pick up the book, the corporate book for the business and go, okay, here's where the EIN tax ID number is. Here's the bank account. Here are all the passwords. Here's the hard drive where all the recordings and the video and everything is located, and organized.
Switching gears a little bit because we're running out of time, right? And so much more I wanted to talk to you and touch, especially on music business and the business of music, making music, because I think that I have a lot of artist friends who might need to hear a process.
Yeah.
Right. This is the process. This is, and I'm sure that information is out there.
Yeah.
But it's to source it and to find it and to come get it directly from me or from you, I think is benefiting all.
There's lots of information out there. I mean, lots of books, lots of ebooks, lots of regular books, lots of podcasts. There's a lot of information. What I would just say is that every artist and every creative person is unique. And there are processes that may apply to everybody, but you got to be able to come up with a plan that's unique to you. And what I've learned from being a business lawyer and being in this industry and being also that's connected to carnival culture is that I've recognized that, especially in the Caribbean community, we're not taking seriously the business side of our culture. We're just not. For long-term sustainability. You may wonder, why does somebody pay $250, $500, thousands of dollars to go to a Beyonce concert? But when we hold a concert, we comfortable paying
$30.
Why is that? Because we're not putting a value on it. And
interesting. I saw a post, I won't say who, but I saw a post on Facebook yesterday or the day before saying that, these artists and DJs, I don't know who they feel they are, right? This type of money that they're trying to charge us, they need to sit down, or words to that extent.
Unfortunately for Caribbean people, we are not, we're not sustaining each other. We're not buying each other's music, and we treat other people's music more valuable than our own. And this is where I go back to Cambele. If you understand the history and the value of how important the culture is to our music, then you would value it a little bit more. And so whether it's dancehall, whether it's kumpa, zouk, soca, calypso, buy the artist's music. Buy the artist's music.
Yeah. I think that we have a culture of free. Right? There's a culture of...
And that comes from the carnival culture,
Yeah, I just want it.
Be on the road. I don't want to pay to go inside.
Yeah.
I don't know who pays for this. Police, fire rescue, blocking the road.
Barriers.
Barricades, waste management. Who can pay for it? Somebody
There's
has to
a
pay
cost.
for it. The government, city, somebody has to pay for
somebody
it.
has to pay for
It's
it.
your money.
Yeah, I think there's a lack of understanding there. I wanna touch beyond the business of music and the music business. You've worked with the Obama campaign, and you've also worked on your own campaign, right? Commissioner, and as well as Vice President Harris campaign. And so just yesterday or the day before, we got a new president, and I feel like there's a lot of worry, especially amongst Caribbean Americans, may feel as though they're in a dire situation. You have any advice to the people who Who are experiencing that?
Well, you know, we're black people, or most of us are, and we come from a culture of resilience. You know, there's nothing that we've gone through the worst of humanity, and we're going to go through the worst of humanity in the next generation. So I'm not worried about our survival, but for us, we're students of politics. Pick any backyard, any dinner table, and we're talking barbershop. We're talking about it. The studio, domino table. We're talking about it. But are we engaging it? So we're voyeurs students, but we're not coming to the front of the class and talking about what needs to be done. And for me, being a part of what being a part of Miami Carnival has taught me, because I had to learn very early on at a very young age as a young lawyer. This is my 29th year now practicing law. And I've been involved with Miami Carnival now, it has to be at least over 20 years or more. Because we've known each other, 20 plus years, right? For being the lawyer of Miami Carnival, I had to become a student of how to help Miami Carnival and the environment that Miami Carnival is operating in, the governmental environment, in order for it to be sustainable, right? Understanding the importance of the difference between Miami-Dade County and the city of Miami. You remember when Miami Carnival was downtown Miami? Yeah. Downtown Miami, that's the city of Miami. Okay. And the city of Miami is located in Miami-Dade County. So it's two different governmental entities. I have to learn that. Miami Carnival is generated from the DNA of Trinidad and Tobago. So therefore, the government of Trinidad and Tobago is going to have an interest. You know, so when big ups Frank Collins, right, was friends with Chandra Singh, right? He took an interest as a consulate that having more than one carnival was not sustainable for the quality of life
and viability
of Trinbagonians.
Yeah.
So he was smart trying to figure it out. So he took a political risk.
Yeah, trying to fix that.
By bringing certain community leaders that could mend the fences. I handled some of the paperwork to mediate that situation, and it took those leaders, people, Selman Lewis, Francis Ragu, Marlene Gregoire, Rudy Williams. These are foundation people that were involved in the Carnival fraternity over the years. Here's this young Jamaican lawyer. What do you know, kid? But little did they know that I was studying.
Yeah, student.
You have to respect it. Yeah. Right? Because it's not just an event. This is a cultural community treasure that requires coming to the table with a level of humility, level of respect, level of professional acumen that will allow a result to occur. And that's basically what happened. So when you kind of bring it back to the idea that you question that you asked me in regards to politics, every immigrant community goes through 3 phases, Sizwe. Acclimation. When you first came here when you were 7, you got to get used to the environment. Assimilation, you get comfortable after a year and a half and you're going to school. That's the second phase of the immigrant community. And the last phase, main phase, is integration, right? And so we have now reached the point now, 40 years now of Miami Carnival, where the Caribbean community, through the eyes of Carnival, is in a very mature place of being integrated. So we have to get serious about the role that we play in getting our citizenship, registering to vote, going to city hall meetings, looking at the budget of how Carnival ecosystem is being funded, understanding the fact that why we don't own a venue yet to hold a fete or a venue to host performances and teach our kids about their culture. We don't own anything. We have to be renting community centers. So all of that is a part of the political process. So when I was involved with Carnival early on, I was invited to speak many times on radio, Mike Andrews, and I had to go and speak. And then soon I became
And then I was very involved with the Caribbean Lawyers Association, and I recognized that the one way to sustain the carnival is you got to get the community organized. So we started to have citizenship drives. Remember, we used to have these town hall meetings and kind of sharing information. So it all fits together as a part of the politics. And then later on, when I got involved with the Obama campaign, that was just I met Senator Obama at Miami Book Fair. And then when there was another friend who was involved in the campaign, and he said, this guy from Illinois, met him, liked what he was communicating, his value system. And I just got involved in the ground level. And then before you know it, you remember now he was running against Hillary. Right. A primary over 2.5 years. Fast forward now 16 years later, you have somebody like Kamala Harris who was just running for 103 months. Yeah. She had a campaign. It's hard for her to introduce herself to the country for somebody who, former President Trump, and to win a race like that. The dynamic was just different because every election, Sizwe, is a snapshot of the moment. You can't compare 2008 to 2024. Yeah. It's a different America. COVID, the pandemic, lots of things have happened where people are just in a funk. They may like her, but somebody has to pay the price for rent is too high.
So that brings me to, do you think that the Democratic Party as it stands today is just a little bit out of touch? Yeah. Especially with middle America and what they want, right?
I would even say the Republican Party is out of touch as well, because everybody wants to be in touch with who they think is going to get them elected. Yeah. Right? Like any other organization, even though it's a political party, it's still an organization or a business that has to have a plan to be successful. And sometimes when you are an artist, sometimes when you're a political party, you tend to lose track of your mission.
Yeah, lose sight.
Everybody does. Mm-hmm. Law firm, political party, artist, you got to have a plan. And you are correct. I think the Democratic Party has gone through various phases of success and various phases of failure. Yeah. And the Republican Party figured out through the political movement that former President Trump is a part of, that we need to kind of tap into a part of the DNA of America that will be appealing enough, that will get us enough votes to put them over the top.
Yeah, and that's a huge group that feel in despair, that feel left behind, that feel that they don't have.
And it's not race specific per se.
No, that's what I'm saying, right? At least that's what I'm trying to say, is that without saying the R word, but saying that there's a group of people who it mightn't be that that's the way it is, right? It mightn't be that the economy is crazy and out of hand, but they feel that way and not addressing that feeling and just kind of just saying, no, but it's the economy's fine.
Yeah.
I think you have to do more to explain that to a certain demographic or group of people so that you can get their vote. And I think that we missed that. They missed that.
Yeah, I gather that. But let's not forget, though, that just like Camberley, bring this back home, we still live in a country that has a historical context. Mm-hmm. So those emotions of misreading the American voter, who may be Trinidadian, who may be Jamaican, who may be Haitian, who may be just a white person who white or Native American, doesn't matter. They have politics is really about a feeling, right? And an experience. So I do think that both parties are going to have to be cognizant of this changing sentiment in America as we can't pretend like it's not becoming more multicultural. But when you have a country that is still 60% white, they may feel a little bit more insecure when it becomes less white. Yeah. Right? And then you have people who are non-white, in my opinion, that also feel that they need to survive too. So they may lean towards who they believe
presumptively could help them to survive.
Right.
If you're offering the right message.
Right.
This is where you're saying
Right.
that they misread it.
Right. If you're offering the right message, it could be nonsense.
And it
But
swung.
the messaging.
And it swung. So you know the 2016, Hillary lost. 2020, Biden won. Why did Trump lose? And Biden won. And do you recognize that Biden won? And the same way that Biden won, Kamala lost by losing the states that he won.
Right. Right.
Why? Something is happening with those people that
Something
are
is
saying,
happening. Yeah.
That's saying,
Definitely.
guys, you guys not listening.
Yeah.
Let me show you. And I think that's some of it.
So on the closing message, message to the voters, the message to the people, how to withstand these next 4 years, you say to them?
I say to them that you gotta acknowledge that however you're feeling is a real emotions, right? But you gotta stay engaged. You gotta stay engaged. You have to in your local community, your homeowners association, your PTSA, your union, your mass band, your steel band, get engaged within your local community and don't be selfish with the resources and the talents that you have. That's my advice to folks in terms of building community. And something else that I think is also very important, now that I'm in a more seasoned chapter of Marlon Hill's life, I think that we got to make sure that the young people are exposed and have an opportunity. I had that opportunity when I was 25, and then I was different lawyer at 25, and different lawyer at 35, different lawyer at 45, now approaching 55. So I think that we got to give more young people. I think that especially the young people within, the Black community or the Caribbean community, we have to expose them to opportunities to learn about leadership and to being engaged and understand, for them to have a sense of who they are. Because if they don't have a sense of who they are, which is why it's so troubling to me when they try to ban learning certain things in school, we are responsible as a community to make sure that our kids are grounded in who they are. So wherever they go in the world, when we send them off to...
Yeah, regardless of whether or not it's being taken out of school or not.
Yeah.
Right? It's your job, my job.
Your job. And then your job and also the community that you surround yourself with, extended family and the broader community, so that they can feel that they can leave the house and go somewhere and go, those are my people, even though they're maybe interacting with people that are outside their community. They have to be grounded in that. And politics is that type of thing to where you can't afford to isolate yourself. Otherwise, people won't just vote because they don't need you.
Yeah.
We can't win an election by ourselves,
Yeah.
Black people. We can't.
No.
Right? So we need to kind of step out of take care of ourselves. My advice is self-care, post this election, take care of your families, right? But build community, connect with community, right? And do more for young people, for the next generation, and everything else will be all right.
Mr. Hill, Esquire. Respect to you, man. Thank you so much for coming. I can't wait for your next endeavor where I can support you, and if you're going up for commissioner again or anything else.
No, you're not going to have that. You're not going to have that. I have no desire right now. No desire right now to run for any other office. I learned that experience. I'm finding other ways to do good trouble. I learned that the political environment takes more than it gives. And right now, I don't have the bandwidth to give
that much.
Give that much.
Yeah.
So I'm preserving myself and my joy for purposes of my family, because my family needs me more now. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be involved in a particular way. And people need to understand that you can make an impact without being the person on the headline.
Yeah.
Or being the person that has commissioner or state representative or whatever. I really truly believe that after having gone through the experience of the county commission, but I don't see that in any
near future. I hear you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for coming, my brother.
Yeah, man.
Sorry for the little technical difficulties that we've had. You got to be able to pivot.
Yeah.
Flexible.
Yeah.
It's part of being a creative entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
and that's what we're able to do. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Marlon Hill, pillar again in the community. It was great information, I think, that we had here tonight. And so we'll see you next time on What They Do. What They Do.